Chapter 35 of Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, the final chapter. The talent show starts at 7, and Nick and I arrive just as they're dimming the lights. Bram and Garrett are supposed to be sitting in the back toward the middle, with 2 seats saved. My eyes find him immediately. He's twisted all the way around in his chair, watching the door, and he smiles when he sees me. We squeeze through the row, and I sit beside Bram, with Nick and Garrett on either side of us. "Is that a program?" Nick asks, leaning over me. "Yep. Want it?" Garrett asks, passing down the already worn cylinder of paper. Nick scans through the list of acts, and I know he's looking for Abby. "Bet she comes on first or last," I say. He smiles. "Second to last." And then the house lights shut off. The audience chatter tapers off as the stage lights come up. The student council, Maddie, steps up to the microphone. I lean closer to Bram, and because it's so dark, I slide a hand onto his knee. I feel him shift quietly as he laces his fingers through mine. He lifts them and presses his lips to the edge of my palm. He pauses, holding them there, and there's this fluttery yank below my navel. Then he lets our intertwined hands fall back onto his lap, and if this is what it's like having a boyfriend, I don't know why in God's name I waited so long. On stage, it's one girl after another, all in short dresses, all singing songs by Adele. And then it's Abby's turn, and she emerges from the wings, dragging a skinny black music stand to the edge of the stage. My eyes cut to Nick, but he doesn't see me. He's staring raptly forward, with straight posture and smiling, and a smile edging his lips. A blonde sophomore girl steps out with a violin and sheet music. Then she tucks the violin beneath her chin and looks at Abby, who nods at her and hails visibly, and the violinist starts to play. It's a strange, almost mournful version of The Time After Time. Abby's movements convey every note. I've never watched anyone dance solo before, beyond the awkward showboating that happens when people circle up at bar mitzvahs. At first I have no point of reference. In a group you can look for synchronicity, but Abby controls her own motion, and yet every movement and gesture feels rich and deliberate and true. I can't help but look at Nick as he watches. He smiles quietly into his fist the entire time. Abby and her violinist finish to surprised, appreciative applause, and then the curtains close partially while the stage is set for the final act. They pull out a drum set, so I guess it's some kind of band. Maddie takes the mic and makes a bunch of announcements about various ways you can give the student council money. There are a few experimental twangs and booms from behind the curtain as the instruments are plugged in and tested. "Who is this?" I ask Nick. He checks the program. "They're called Emoji." "Cute." The curtain opens on 5 girls with instruments, and the first thing I notice is the colors. They're all wearing different patterned fabrics, and the colors are so bright that it's weirdly punk rock. And then the drummer kicks in with the fast, twitchy beat, which is when I notice that the drummer is Leah. I'm actually speechless. Her hair hangs past her shoulders, and her hands move impossibly quickly. And then she's joined by the other instruments, Morgan on the keyboard and Anna on the bass, Taylor on vocals. And my sister Nora on lead guitar, looking so relaxed and confident that I almost don't recognize her. I mean, I'm gobsmacked. I didn't even know she was playing guitar again. Bram looks at me and laughs. "Simon, your face." They cover Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, and I'm not even kidding. It's absolutely electric. Girls are getting up and dancing in the aisles, and then they transition straight into the Cure's Just Like Heaven. Taylor's voice is sweet and high and effortless, and it's somehow perfect. But I'm still so stunned, I can barely process it. Bram was right. People really are like houses with vast rooms and tiny windows. And maybe it's a good thing, the way we never stop surprising each other. "Nora's not bad, right?" says Nick, leaning toward me. "You knew about this?" "I've been working with her for months, but she told me not to tell you." "Seriously? Why?" "Because she knew you'd make it a big deal," he said. "I mean, that's my family. Everything's a fucking secret because everything's a big deal. Everything is like coming out. My parents are going to go nuts about missing this." "Nah, I got them from here," Nick says, pointing across the aisle, where I can see the backs of their heads a couple of rows up. They're leaning toward each other with their hands together. Then I notice the messy knot of dark blonde hair sitting next to my mom. It's funny, but it almost looks like it could be Alice. Nora smiles her tiny smile, and her hair is loose and wavy, and there's actually kind of a lump in my throat. You look so proud, whispers Bram. Yeah, it's weird, I say. Then Nora's hand stills against the body of the guitar, and Taylor stops singing, and everyone stops playing except Leah, who gets this pissed-off determined look on her face, and then she launches into the most freaking awesome badass drum solo I've ever heard. Her eyes are focused and her cheeks are flushed, and she really looks so pretty. She'd never believe me if I told her. I turn to look at Bram, but he's turned in the other direction, facing Garrett, and I can see from his cheeks that he's grinning, and Garrett shakes his head and smiles and says, I don't want to hear it, Greenfield. The song ends, and people yell and cheer as the house lights come on. There's a swell of movement out the back to the atrium, and we let it pass us. Abby comes out and finds us directly, and then a guy with brown hair and short red beard slides into the empty row in front of us and smiles at me. You're clearly Simon, he says. I nod confused. He looks familiar too, actually, but I can't quite place him. Hi, I'm Theo. Theo? Like Alice's Theo? Something like that, he says, grinning. Is she here? What are you doing here? My eyes flick automatically to where my parents had been sitting, but their row is already empty. It's nice to meet you, I add. Likewise, he says. So Alice is in the lobby, but she sent me in with a message for you and, Bram. Bram and I exchange glances, while Nick, Abby, and Garrett look on with interest. Okay, he says. She wanted me to tell you that your parents are about to invite you to some place called the Varsity, and you're supposed to say you can't go. And the magic words are that you need to catch up on homework. What? Why? Because, Theo says, nodding. Apparently it takes half an hour to get down there, and half an hour to get back, plus all the time spent ordering and eating. Which is completely freaking worth it, I inform him. Have you had their frosted orange? I have not, Theo says. Though in fairness, I've spent a lifetime sum total of 5 hours in Atlanta. So far. But why doesn't she want me there? Because she's giving you 2 hours at home unsupervised. Oh, my cheeks are burning. Nick snorts. Yep, Theo says, grinning briefly at Bram. So I guess I'll see you guys out there. He heads towards the atrium. I look at Bram, and his eyes are lit with mischief. It's very un-Bram-like. Oh, were you in on this? No, he says, but I stand in support. I mean, it's a little creepy having my sister orchestrate the whole thing. He smiles, biting his lip. But kind of awesome, I admit. So we head out to the atrium, and I make a beeline for Alice. Bram hangs back, standing with Nick, Abby, and Garrett. I can't believe you're here. Well, she says, little Nick Eisner clued me in that something big was happening, but I'm sorry I missed the play last week, bub. It's fine. I met Theo, I say, lowering my voice. He's cool. Yeah, she smiles self-consciously. Which one's yours? Gray zippy sweater, next to Nick. I'm lying. I've been stalking him on Facebook, she says, hugging me. He's adorable. I know. And then the side door swings open, and the girls of Emoji step into the atrium. Nora actually yelps when she sees us. Allie, she says. She launches towards her. What are you doing here? Why aren't you in Connecticut? Because you're a rock star, Alice says. I'm not a rock star, Nora says, beaming. My parents have a majorly Seuss-ish bouquet for her, and they spend about 5 minutes gushing about her guitar skills. And then they want to gush about the rest of the band and Abby, so we sort of converge into one big group. And Nora is talking to Theo, and my parents are shaking hands with Bram, and Taylor and Abby are randomly hugging. It's a surreal, wonderful scene. I walk over to Leah, and she grins and shrugs, so I give her this crushing hug. You're a freaking boss, I tell her. I had no idea. They let me borrow some of the school drums. I've been teaching myself. How long? About 2 years. I just look at her. She bites her lip. I guess I'm awesome, she says. Yes, I say, and I'm sorry, but I just have to hug her again. All right, she says, squirming a little, but I can tell she's smiling. So I kiss her on the forehead, and she turns unbelievably red. When Leah blushes, it's so hardcore. And then my parents walk over to propose a celebratory trip to the Varsity. I should probably catch up on homework, I tell them. You sure, kid? Asks my dad. Want me to bring you back a frosted orange? Or 2, says Alice. And then she grins. Alice tells me to keep my phone on so she can text me when they're on the way home. And you won't forget the Frosties? Simon, I believe this is known as having your cake and eating it too. Large ones, I say. Souvenir cups. There are probably 100 people still walking toward the parking lot. I'm riding back with Bram. It's too public to hold hands, this being Georgia, so I walk next to him, leaving space between us. Just a couple of guys hanging out on a Friday night, except the air around us seems to crackle with electricity. Bram is parked in the raised area of the parking lot, on the top level. He unlocks his car from the top of the stairs, and I walk around to the passenger side. Then the car next to me comes noisily to life, startling me. I wait for it to pull out before opening my door, but the driver doesn't move. And then I look into the window and see that it's Martin. We lock eyes. I'm surprised he's here, because he wasn't in school today, which means I haven't seen him since he emailed me. He rakes his hand through his hair, and his mouth sort of twists, and I just sort of look at him. I haven't written back to his email. Not yet. I don't know. But it's chilly outside, so I slide into the car, and then watch through the window as Martin backs out. Are you warm enough? Bram asks. I nod. So I guess we're going to your place. He sounds nervous, and it makes me nervous. Is that okay? Yeah, he says, eyes flicking to me. I mean, yeah. Okay, yeah, I say, and my heart pounds. Stepping into the entryway with Bram is like seeing it for the first time. The random painted wood dresser against the wall, overflowing with catalogs and junk mail. A creepy framed drawing of Alvin and the Chipmunks that Nora made in kindergarten. There's the muffled thud of Bieber jumping off the couch, followed by jangling and clinking as he skittered towards us. Well, hi, Bram says, practically crouching. I know who you are. Bieber greets him passionately, all tongue, and Bram laughs in surprise. You have that effect on us, I explain. He kisses Bieber on the nose and follows me into the living room. Are you hungry? I ask. Or thirsty? I'm fine, he says. You probably have Coke. I very badly want to kiss him, and I don't know why I'm stalling. Do you want to watch something? Sure. I look at him. I don't. He laughs. So let's not. Do you want to see my room? He smiles his mischievous smile again. So maybe it is Bram-like. Maybe I'm still figuring him out. Framed photographs line the wall by the staircase, and Bram pauses to look at each one. The famous trash can costume, he says. Nora's finest hour, I say. I forgot you knew about that. And this is you with the fish, right? So obviously thrilled. In the next picture, I'm 6 or 7, sun-flushed, my arm extended as far away from my body as possible, dangling a caught fish from a piece of twine. I look like I'm about to burst into horrified tears. I've always loved fishing, I say. I can't believe how blonde you were. And then we reach the top of the stairs. He takes my hand and squeezes it. You're really here, I say, shaking my head. So this is it. I open the door and try to kick some of the clothes aside as we walk in. I'm sorry about all of this. There's a dirty clothes pile next to the empty hamper, and a clean clothes pile next to the empty dresser. Books and papers everywhere. An empty bag of goldfish crackers on the desk, next to a non-functioning Curious George alarm clock, my laptop, and a plastic robotic arm. Backpack on the desk chair. Framed vinyl album covers hanging askew on the walls. But my bed is made, so that's where we sit, leaning against the wall with our legs stretched forward. When you email me, he says, where are you? Usually here, sometimes at the desk. Huh, he says, nodding. And then I lean over and kiss him softly on the neck just below his jaw. He turns to me and swallows. Hi, I say. He smiles. Hi. And then I kiss him for real, and he kisses me back, and his hands fist my hair, and we're kissing like it's breathing. My stomach flutters wildly, and somehow we end up horizontal, his hands curved up around my back. I like this, I say, and my voice comes out breathless. We should do this every day. Okay. Let's never do anything else. No school, no meals, no homework. I was going to ask you to see a movie, he says, smiling. When he smiles, I smile. No movies. I hate movies. Oh, really? Really, really. Why would I want to watch other people kissing, I say, when I could be kissing you? Which I guess he can't argue with, because he pulls me in closer and kisses me urgently. And suddenly, I'm hard, and I know he is too. It's thrilling and strange and completely terrifying. What are you thinking about? Bram says. Your mom? No, he says, laughing. But I actually am. Specifically, her every time including oral rule, because it only now occurs to me that that rule might apply to me. At some point. Eventually. I kiss him briefly on the lips. I really do want to take you out, he says. If you didn't hate all movies, what would you want to see? Anything, I say. But probably a love story, right? Something Simonish with a happy ending. Why does no one ever believe I'm a cynic? He laughs. I let my body relax on top of his, my head tucked into the crook of his neck. I like no endings, I say. I like things that don't end. He squeezes me tighter and kisses my forehead, and we lie there. Until my phone buzzes in the back pocket of my jeans. Alice. Exiting the highway. Be ready. Roger that. Thanks, Paul Revere. I rest my phone on Bram's chest while I type. Then I kiss him again quickly, and we both stand up and stretch, and then we each spend some time in the bathroom. But by the time my family gets home, we're sitting on the love seat in the living room with a pile of textbooks between us. Oh, hi, I say, looking up from a worksheet. How was it? Bram came over to study, by the way. I'm sure you were very productive, my mom says. I press my lips together, and Bram quietly coughs. I can tell from her expression that a conversation is coming. Some kind of awkward discussion about ground rules. Some kind of big deal. But maybe this is a big deal. Maybe it's a holy freaking huge, awesome deal. Maybe I want it to be. The end.